Greetings, everyone. Stephan Stelter here with episode 3 of Cloud Chat with Stephan and Matt, where we're going to talk cloud mandate good, cloud mandate bad. Excited to start this conversation. We introduced it a little bit in episode 2. I do feel the need to say that even though I'm wearing a similar t-shirt to episodes 1 and 2, it is not all done on the same day. So we actually have some time between these to think about things and ponder our conversations. So excited to be with you again. Thanks for joining us. Matt, how are things going?
Well, very well. I really enjoyed our last talk, and I think this focus on cloud mandates is an interesting one indeed. And I think it's one that many of our peers in IT, quite frankly, face every day.
Indeed. Yes. And this idea, you wonder if there's a word choice element, when you say mandate, does that have an implication that suddenly maybe cools people to the idea of it? Does it become an order? Is it suddenly, you're being ordered to do this, and it's not, you're not a part of the conversation, you're just being told what to do? Have you been on the receiving end of a cloud mandate, or when you speak with customers, have you heard of customers and had interactions with those who have had cloud mandates? What does that sound like? Maybe we do a little conversation around what the heck is a cloud mandate.
The flavors of cloud mandate.
Indeed.
So it is a spectrum too. I think a lot of people have a cloud mandate, but it's kind of like the cloud itself. It means different things to different people. For us in NetApp IT, we've always had a cloud first mindset. But what it meant really to us was leveraging SaaS. SaaS is the cloud, and making sure that we were investing IT resources in the correct things. But I've seen customers where it's a pure cloud mandate, where it's just go to the cloud or else. And I kind of think that's a little bit dangerous, because you're not, anytime you do something without thinking about it, you're going to have challenges. There's always a better way of doing things, having a good plan, having a good reason to do things. And I think that's kind of the where you get the cloud mandate bad type of conversation going.
Yes. Did the edict come from the magazine in the seat back pocket of the first class cabin where the C-suite executive most recently read that cloud is the thing that people should do? Although maybe that's no longer a fear given our current circumstances and not quite as much travel as there's been in the past. Maybe it's coming from online sources talking about cloud. But the word mandate has that sense of again, loss of freedom to some extent. But as we discussed last week, and in general, when we have these conversations around cloud chat, we set the tone early that while cloud has this implication of public cloud and hyperscale cloud providers, and that large solve that folks often have, we think about it more in the context of private clouds as well. And when you think about a cloud mandate and maybe a more softer phrasing, or maybe just a softer approach to it, say, well, yeah, we're trying to mandate that everything that we build and everything that we design is enabled for private or public cloud consumption. So we're using a cloud-centric approach to the way that we do things, so that we make it automatable, repeatable, and you start thinking about reducing the technical debt that to use some buzzword bingo in here, but those are ways to eliminate some of that. It's by making sure you can automate it. That gives you more time to focus on technical debt as it accumulates. Use the right resource at the right place at the right time.
I think you just defined the cloud good, right?
Yes. It's feeling optimistic. My coffee cup is half full.
Yeah. Well, it's so the cloud good mandate or mindset is that you're taking all the best of the cloud, the speed, the ability to scale, the ability to look at the world as a bunch of resources, and then how best then to leverage those technical resources to maximize the value you have to your business and obviously to the market. But again, so then the exact opposite is true. Is cloud mandate bad is when you just blindly are doing things, not thinking about costs, not thinking about how you scale it, not thinking about even the rhyme or reason. And I think, yes. So how do you get from bad then to good?
Interesting question. And is bad all bad? There are some thoughts around, if you pick a cloud and you set a direction, at least you're moving, right? And you've pushed, and you've maybe if you're doing it right, maybe you're empowering people to drive toward that cloud. But that singularity of focus, that sense of purpose, I think when led properly, you can get behind even a harsh mandate. But yeah, it does seem to be very dependent on that leadership style and that approach. So maybe you've inherited a cloud mandate, and maybe the business isn't, has softened from the initial approach. How can you think about going from that cloud bad to cloud good?
Well, let's
I
talk
like
about
that
that
thought.
too, because as I'm thinking about, there's also maybe a stage of company development element to this. So, for example, a cloud mandate for a startup company is probably a very good thing, right?
Yeah.
In the context of, you don't want to spend all your resources building a data center, you want to spend all your resources being creative. So a cloud
Yeah.
mandate.
How much time do you want to spend in front of the VCs explaining why X% of the funding you're requesting needs to be a data center, right? Shouldn't you be talking more about your business plan, your process, your competitive differentiation, all those things that we've spoken about on occasion? Are we running the business or transforming the business, or to use some of the delineations that you've expressed to me in the past?
Right. So then if you think about that, again, in that whole spectrum, a cloud mandate, having to do cloud when you're a well-established business and running everything at a certain level of efficiency may not make sense. Again, defining that cloud good and cloud bad. So let's talk a little bit about then, how do you transition from a generic cloud mandate where just everything has to go to the cloud without rhyme or reason, to a cloud mandate where there is rhyme or reason?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you think about it from a technical leadership perspective, and we have an opportunity to choose how we hear things. So we have, and I think maybe there's a greater commentary on society and human interactions as of late in general. But you could hear cloud mandate and be like, this person wants us to do everything in the cloud now. And that is, you can take a response of digging your heels in and explaining all the reasons why a cloud mandate is a horrible idea. And look at these costs and look at these articles. And I listened to Matt and Stephan on their cloud chat. They were talking about the Andreessen Horowitz article and how, cloud, there's going to be repatriation, and but maybe you choose to interpret it differently and say cloud mandate, what a great idea. We should be building our on-premises applications in such a way that we can develop our private cloud on premises, right? And let's let the technical interpretation of it illuminate the business person's perspective on what the cloud means. And like, you're a genius for a cloud mandate. Let's do that. Let's build things. So maybe choosing your interpretation appropriately, or in a way that sets you more alongside the business executive rather than opposite the table in a combative way.
Well, it kind of gets back to earlier conversation about, what does the cloud even mean? When you say cloud mandate, people immediately think that's just outsourcing everything, right? But what you just defined was cloud mandate is having that ability to scale up, scale down, and whether it's on or off premise, kind of to some extent irrelevant. The private cloud does feature here, but having the same type of capabilities. So move away from cloud being this finite term of a hyperscaler to cloud meaning a type of set of capabilities, the scaling, the ability to be flexible, the ability, back to the agility, the ability to be responsive, right? That time too with high quality. So if you redefine cloud like that, I think a lot more people probably will be a little bit more open.
Absolutely. And it is interesting just hearing you talk about flexibility and scalability. And in the context of private cloud, you almost have I personally have a visceral reaction to this idea of, well, scalability is true because I can always scale up. How do I scale down though? And here's all the downsides to physical infrastructure. But understanding that there are so many more vehicles available to customers today in terms of how they consume on premises.
Yes.
So that the more cloud-like vehicles, I'm wearing a NetApp t-shirt, so I'll say things like Keystone, where
Yes.
we'll bring capacity in, and you're agreeing to use a certain amount of capacity, but you're able to change that up or down and pay for what you use. Those become really powerful models to make even that private cloud have those same kinds of levers and apply that leverage that you might want to get from a public cloud.
Well, it definitely makes things more, gives you options and makes things more attractive for that private cloud. I mean, arguably, to some extent, the private cloud can be far more cost efficient if you have, and leveraging some of those resources to scale up and scale down in an OpEx model, again, gives you more levers to turn to really maximize those capabilities. Let's talk a little bit about, though, so how do you go from no cloud to cloud?
Yes.
It's easy when you're a greenfield, brand new company and put everything in the cloud. Oh, that's easy. But what if you're like us, been around for what, 30, company's been around for 30 years. How do you go from, no cloud to getting those types of capabilities? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I love it. And when you think about the premise of our conversation here, cloud mandates, even if maybe it's not as aggressive a cloud mandate, maybe it's come on, we need to show some progress team. You get a more empathetic leader who's wants to be a servant leader. How can I help you get more workloads into the cloud? And those are some of the things that in my role talking to partners and end customers, we talk about how NetApp technology and ONTAP powered technologies allow you to tier cold blocks of data into the cloud. So the technology, cloud tiering, or by Fabric
archives, great place to start.
And that becomes the other place, right? So you either say cold blocks that are components of active applications, we can tier those, or hey, I want to have a copy. Let me put a copy in the cloud. I want to do some disaster recovery. But I'm curious, so that that can apply to a relatively small customer, and it's something that NetApp allows customers to do with even our smallest arrays, the smallest things that you can buy from us, allow this capability, even the software defined version. So you want to have your own hardware choice, and you want to apply our software defined versions of our storage management tool ONTAP that allows you to do the same tiering that I'm describing. So really powerful capabilities for, again, entry-level, mid-level organizations. Matt, from a NetApp perspective, NetApp IT, how did we start dipping our toe into the cloud? We're much further down our journey holistically now, but thinking about those first steps of embracing some cloud. I'd like cloud light. I would like diet cloud.
Yeah. How do you do cloud good?
Yes.
Well, I didn't be honest with you. When we first started, I think we were like everybody else. We didn't know what we had a direction. There wasn't a clear path forward. But when I'm looking at things in retrospect and now where we're sitting and how we're looking at the cloud today, the fundamental thing that we learned early on in our approach was there are really two types of applications. I think we touched about this in the last chat. There's those applications that run the business, the common things that everybody does, and then there's things that differentiate the business. And if you take the basic approach that everything that runs the business should eventually go to SaaS, that leaves still a good chunk of applications. Now the next question is okay, if those applications, what can go to the cloud? And I think that requires a multi perspective of not only the health and hygiene of that application, how it's architected today. Can it leverage a true virtualized environment? Can you make changes to it without having to take the whole application down? Can it scale for your company? And then in those considerations, how much do you have to change to obtain that agility and that necessary capability that you need? And always look at stuff like always on. We need to have applications that are always available for true business resiliency. So you have to look at the applications in your portfolio in a whole different way and start to really then assess and then prioritize what applications you're going to go after to really enable them to be or re-architect them to be cloud-like.
So when you think about the first application that went to a cloud, was it low performance, high capacity, high performance, high capacity, high performance, low capacity. Were there attributes that you could clearly associate with that
I'm going to
application?
argue, a lot of people look at the types of workloads. I'm going to argue that rarely comes into it. It's the what kind of, let me pick a great example of an application that we need to move to the cloud, and we need to kind of move fast. It turned out to be one of our most critical applications, our support site. The support site ends up being a whole set of federated applications that have evolved over the 30 years of NetApp being around. Very hard to upgrade. It was a lot of our SAP CRM legacy application that had been highly customized. So very hard to make changes to that support site to create a better customer experience. While it was one of our most critical applications, it was also one of the ones we started with, learning how to use new technologies like microservices. So it was a little bit of a risk, but it was high priority that we were enable that capability, and we started to learn about how do you unwind that technical debt, abstract that UI, and really create a capability that we've never had before in terms of the customer site, the customer experience. So again,
That's great.
workloads had very rarely have anything to do with it. It's the what is the capability of the application, and what's the current gaps, and how do you fill those gaps? And it is with new technology, with new architecture.
And so a couple of things that I noted in my head here. One of them is I like in my time at NetApp in 10 years, I've been able to observe the changes to the support site and the way that it's evolved. And I think that's a useful thing to highlight, this idea that yes, microservices, but it doesn't have to be everything microservices right now, all cloud go. It can be, let's pick off this element, this aspect of a larger service, and let's cloudify that, and then let's integrate it and build the hooks and use microservices to build those hooks and have that bit occur. So that might be a more cloud realistic, like true cloud. We're doing things in the cloud. We're getting a speed of development benefit out of the cloud. But if you find yourself on the receiving end of a cloud mandate, there's another thing that you said earlier, which is looking at the things that run the business. What can you make SaaS? And you might find yourself as a technologist inside of your organization making a case to the owner. We are already clouding some things because we are using some software as a service capabilities. So you can check that box in your not to be cynical, but during cocktail parties, you can absolutely say, owner of our business, our company, our organization, you can say we are in the cloud. We are doing cloud things. We have some SaaS component. So you can rest easy at night knowing we're headed in that direction and we're taking these other initiatives. But just being a little sassy gets you part way into the cloud already.
I like that. It'll be a little sassy. And going back to the workload. So it's not necessarily about the types of workloads per se. It is the types of business. So for example, areas that we started with, like many companies, moving email, moving SharePoint, moving all that into the cloud, that gave us just capabilities. Moving our HR systems, again, moving from them on-prem to the cloud was kind of a no-brainer as well. Moving our sales systems. I mean, you're not going to build those things on-prem anymore. So those things kind of organically happened only because you wanted those new capabilities. Again, when you go back into those things you can't move, it is driven by business need. It doesn't matter how complicated the workflows are or how bad the architecture is. If the business, if you need it because there's a gap, it's going to force you to change. So another great example is our business intelligence. These things grow over time, become very hard to change, very hard to respond to business. And that's one of the other areas that we're focusing on, leveraging a combination of on-prem, but also SaaS solutions to really bring all these different data sets together to give us agility and speed of reporting and give us more insights to data than we ever had before.
That's awesome. I'm excited to talk about that in more detail in a future episode. Well, so thanks for listening, everybody. You be the judge. Cloud mandate good, cloud mandate bad. Hopefully we gave you some things to think about. Thanks for listening. I feel like I need to say, hit that like button and smash the subscribe checky thingy. I don't know. It seems like a podcasty thing that needs to be said. I'm sure that'll get edited out. So at any rate, thanks for joining us for this episode.
Have a great day.
Cloud Chat with Stephan and Matt. Enjoy, everybody.